Brandon Swanson, the real reason we're here. Um, this is such a strange case. I feel we've done a lot of videos on this. Jimmy and I have covered this topic. Actually, before I get into that, put a pin in that for a second. I took these out because I wanted to show you. I did a video on Johnny Gosh. I don't know if you guys remember the Johnny Gosh. Tune it up. Okay, I'm getting it up. That's what she said. Tune it up. Okay, is that great? That's great. He says, okay, it's great. Okay. I did a video on Johnny Gosh, and people ask me, what are your sources? What are your sources? Listen, I used to put my sources on the descriptions. The fact of the matter is, it's not, I'm not putting it on anymore, not because I'm hiding anything or blah, blah, blah. It's just that I don't have the time, kind of a one-man show. I actually even created my website. I'm not a web designer. And I created a page where my grand design was to create a page that just had the sources on it, which is still in the works. Just give me a little time. It'll eventually be populated with a source list, which is going to be a lot better than dumping everything in the description of a video. Personally, there's only a couple things that I really hate when I'm watching YouTube videos. I can't stand listening to YouTubers say, like and subscribe, and don't forget to smash that smash that button or something. What is it? The like button? They say smash it. No, hit like and subscribe and smash that something button. I hate when people say that. And the other thing is, I just don't like that. Anyway, this is the Johnny Gosh book. It was written by Noreen. You get the point of what I was saying. Noreen Gosh, great book. So my sources are not in the description because, as I said, I can't state. That's number 2. I hate seeing long descriptions. This book, fantastic. It's not the sole source of my research, but this was a great book. And while I'm at show and tell, I just wanted to point out something else. I'm sure you guys have heard of, I'm sure you guys have heard of Linda Moulton Howe. She's like I guess I might call a conspiracist. I don't know, maybe somebody might call me a conspiracist. She does kind of like, she's very famous though. There's a big difference between her and me. Anyway, I've always like been very interested in her and stuff, but like the thing is, like, you have to pay, I think, to get like on her news or like to get information on her site. You have to pay for that. And like all her books, finally, long story short, I actually broke down and decided to buy one of her books. They're very expensive, but I decided to break it down. I treated myself and I can't wait to read it. I haven't, maybe I'll do a video on it and then get sued by Linda Moulton Howe. Might be worth it. No. We're not going to play with fire. So Brandon Swanson, I don't want to take away from this video. This case is so bizarre. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Brandon Swanson case. Has anybody heard of it? Has anybody, I bet you Chris already has done a ton of research on this, no doubt. It's just strange. There's a 19-year-old college student. I'm just going to lay out the facts again. Probably my hook was completely inaudible. So that's great. It was a good waste of time. Brandon Swanson goes to a get-together, let's call it. It's not really a party. It's for his graduation, high school, for a local graduation party. And he has a couple drinks. He wasn't drunk. Okay, everybody said, it's terrible to say he wasn't that drunk. Okay, this time he actually was not drunk. Okay, everyone seems to agree. Okay, yeah, you watched 3 videos on, oh gosh, then I better know what I'm talking about. Anyway, he wasn't drunk. Now, last time, I'm just laughing to myself because last time Jimmy was here, we talked about it. We're like, listen, there's really no level of drunk where you should be driving ever. It was like, well, he only had 1 or 2 beers. Well, I think he went to 2 parties. At one party, he had like a couple beers. At another one, I think they said he had a shot of something, a shot of whiskey. All right. But notwithstanding his state of purported intoxication or not intoxication, everyone dealt with him. Everyone that talked to him said he was completely sober. He wasn't staggering. He wasn't slurring his speech. He was completely fine when he got in his vehicle to leave. So he was leaving just to go home, back to live with his parents. Now, along the way, he must have gotten lost or something, even though he's from this area. For some reason that night, he decided to take a circuitous route, not a route that he would normally take. Now, I could go into my own reasons of why someone might take a circuitous route. Maybe if I made the poor decision to drink, for instance, I might want to take some back roads to avoid the popo, right? I might, but that doesn't mean that's the case with him. Because remember, everybody said that he was completely fine when he got in the car and drove. But notwithstanding all that, he was driving for a while, and I mean, I've got a timeline here that I actually I brought up because this is it's crazy what happened with this. So between 10:30 p.m. and 11 o'clock p.m., he leaves the gathering in Canby, Minnesota. He's done. He's gone. Country Roads, Take Me Home. You know what? I really love that song, by the way. John Denver. Very sad how he died. I believe that's the Cessna, the company that made the plane, got sued because there was actually a defect. There's a little piece of trivia. It was a defect in his chair, the pilot seat. They had to change, I think, the configuration. That was a big case. John Denver dead. Really? An ad popped up. How does that work? I didn't know they could do ads on live streams. That's interesting. The things you learn. How weird is that? So I guess ads can pop up even in live streams. Thank you for telling me that. Get the heck out of here. They come up on live streams? What? So question, I'm getting off target here. Question here. Let's say you're watching a live stream and then you may have just addressed that. So if you're watching a live stream, let's say it ends. Tomorrow you go back to watch it. And you're watching it, will those ads still be there? Or maybe they only appear. Actually, yeah, they probably will. They probably will. That's weird. Then I would ask, I wonder if they're the same ads. Anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We could go down the rabbit hole of those ads. How do they know? How do they know everything that's going on here? My cat, for instance, I don't know if I told everybody this, I should share. My cat, unfortunately, who I've had now for about 13 years, is going through stage 3 kidney failure. Whatchamacallit, I've been a little out of it lately. I've got to give him 2 IV bags a day, as well as several times a day of different various medications. We'll see how long. That goes. He just recently survived cancer. And now this kidney failure has started. But anyway, so I just wanted to, I don't even know why I brought that up. I probably should tell you how crazy I've been lately. Okay. So between 10:30 and 11 o'clock, he leaves his party. I'm just trying to think, is that very late? I guess it is. It would be, but he's in college. He's in college and he's going to a high school or like I don't know if it's a graduation party. He's going to a graduation. He's going to a party with some of his local friends. He's pretty familiar with the area. I found something that was really cool. Somebody actually, let me see if I can find it. Somebody on Reddit had a really good map, and I just feel compelled to share this map because it is so good. It shows you where the car is, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. What is this now? I just lost one of my... Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's weird. I got to tell you, the live stream ads, bizarre. But, well, the whole thing is weird. I mean, oh yeah, that's why I brought up my cat thing. Thanks. I'm like, the reason I brought up my cat was because now I'm getting like ads on YouTube for like kidney things for your cat, like videos on how to like put the IV in the cat and videos on like different kinds of medication. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? This is like really, really weird. You know, they're listening. That's the answer. They're listening. They're always listening. I don't know. That's weird. I've turned off all of the things where it's like, hey, you know, don't let them listen and stuff like that. They're probably like, screw it, we're listening anyway. He 10:30 and 11 o'clock, he leaves the party. He's driving to Marshall, Minnesota. Okay. We don't even know what route he was taking at the time. We presume it's Highway 68. He's driving a Chevy Lumina in case anybody cares. At 1:54 a.m. Now, I'm going to tell you this exactly. That's when he calls his parents. So let's assume that he left at 11 p.m. And let's assume, just for the sake of argument, hypothetically, that he was drunk out of his mind. I mean, he was drunk as a skunk. He left at 11 p.m. He makes a phone call at 1:54 a.m. Right? So that's 3 hours. Okay, so 3 hours go by. When he calls his parents, he's completely coherent. However, his car is in a ditch. Now, I know it sounds like kind of crazy, right? He's coherent, he's not drunk, but his car's in a ditch. He's not hurt. He believes that he's near the town of Lind, or the city of Lind. He asks them to come and get him. He starts a 47-minute phone call. He always catches these last. Well, I have to tell you, you should be lucky that you caught this in the middle, because apparently the first, like 5 minutes of this is a mix of terrible audio and me talking about my slowly dying cat. So you came in at a good time. So I'm just setting this up because it's strange to me. Like, everybody says he's not drunk. His friends say he was not drunk. If he was inebriated in any way, I'm going to say if he was anything, he was buzzed. Okay, because he had to have been able to fool everybody, and not just fool his friends, because his friends could be they could be just BSing. I might say, hey, no, he's not drunk. I might say that if I was trying to protect the interests of my friend, I might. Not advising anyone to do that. But if he was buzzed and he left, 3 hours later, he's on the phone with his parents and there's no indication he's drunk. In fact, he's completely coherent. So my position, I mean, as we're getting, is pretty clear, is that I doubt even if it did have a level of intoxication, by the time he called his parents at 2 o'clock, he was completely fine. So from 2 o'clock to 2:47, that's 47 minutes, he stays on the phone with his parents. He says that, hey, I'm stuck in a ditch near Lind. They go and search for him. They can't find him. Turn your phone off and talk about something, and then watch how many times it gets suggested to. Yes. You know what? Thank you. I'm actually going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Actually, I should put it in airplane mode. That's what I should do, right? You want to hear something really funny? So I got to stop this for a second. You might find this funny. Well, I was cutting up pills for my cat that's going through stage 3 kidney failure as we speak. This was a couple days ago, and I went to cut the pill and I almost severed off my thumb. So I was holding it and I had to run to the emergency room and get them to put a staple through it. That's a real trooper. I just want to point that out. So it's kind of hard for me to manipulate this phone anyway. That's my point. He's on the phone for 47 minutes. In that 47 minutes, his parents have no indication that he's drunk or inebriated. That says something, right? I mean, that says something to me right off the bat. How can you possibly go? I don't know about you. Can you convince your parents you're not drunk in a 47-minute call? Yeah, well, I got to be honest, Chris, I wasn't really paying attention with the pill splitter. You want to hear something that was really funny about that story? So when I go in there to get the staple put into my thumb. They go, hey, have you had your tetanus shot? I said, I'm sure I've had my tetanus shot. I don't remember, well, has it been last year? No. Could have been 5 years. I don't know. Could have been 10 years. I don't remember. I can't remember. I don't remember I had it, but I don't really want it. After all, the pill splitter I used was made of plastic. Do you understand that? It was made of plastic. So he goes and he said, well, you should have your tetanus shot. And I said, well, I don't know if I really want it. I said, how do I know that you're not putting some kind of government tracker in there? So he goes out and gets the tetanus shot, and he sticks me in the arm, and he turns to to whoever, I guess the medical assistant. He's like, please activate, government tracker, ... something like that. Just got me, he had me going for a little bit there. I almost freaked out. But luckily sanity came over me. It was just me panicking over my finger. So the other thing that strikes me unusual about this case, he's on the phone for 47 minutes. He's walking around. He's trying to find, he tells them he's going to try to head for Lind. That's the city. He says he sees lights in the distance. He sees the lights in the distance. So he's going to go and look. I want to show you, wrong mouse. I want to show you now this really cool map that I found on Reddit. Some Reddit poster put it up there. I will try to find out who that Reddit poster is because it would be nice to mention them, but it's not on here. I'll try to remember to put it in the description, but if you're really interested, just email me and I could find it because I really don't care. That's not the point of this, but it's not mine. Some Redditor made it. Some real smart Redditor, much smarter than me. Anyway, so we're looking here. Hopefully you guys can see this. This is Marshall, where he lives with his parents. Marshall. God, I hope you guys can see this. Okay, and now we got a whole bunch of little dots here. He thought that he was here. Lind. He thought his car broke down right here. Boy, was he wrong. So he said, hey, meet me in Lind. I think he was going to meet them at a bar. So they were looking for him. They couldn't really find it. Turns out, guess where they find his car? Well, first, this is where he was going to his party. Okay? He thought he was down there. We know that he lives over here. This is where he thought he was. They found his car. Brandon's car is right here. This is his car. See that? They found his car right here. So, like, he must have taken, like, one of these, what they call field roads. He's, like, in fact, Lincoln County Road. Okay? Now, they found his car here. This is going to get interesting. Listen to this. And they tracked his scent with bloodhounds, or not bloodhounds, dogs. I actually think they originally used cadaver dogs. They tracked his scent, and it followed. So he was clearly walking. Okay, see this 90-degree turn right here. Okay, the scent, he went off trail right here. Okay, they found a ping here. This is where he went, like, off road right here. Okay. Now, at one point, you might say, well, what is this, a body of water here? He clearly fell in the river and he drowned. I mean, end of story, right? Well, a lot of people think that. Maybe he was walking. This is the north branch of the Yellow Medicine River. Boy, that sounds weird. What does it make you think of when someone says yellow medicine? Huh? Not something good, I'll tell you that much. And certainly he could have. But the thing is, the phone wasn't on mute. They didn't hear any splash. They didn't hear anything at all. They just heard sound of nighttime. No struggle. Now this right here, you see this on the road? This is where the scent trail ended. So at one point they actually followed his scent across this river. He actually crossed the river. But the dogs picked it up on the other side, and they ultimately tracked him to this road right here. That's where they tracked his road. Now, I don't have the address of the landowner that has not to this day allowed them to search his or her, or I don't know who owns the property. But there is one landowner that to this day has said, you cannot search my property. But it might be interesting to look where this is. Let's take a look. So, Antler Wildlife Management Area. I know that there was an abandoned farm in the area. So this is where his car, no, is this where his car is, or this is where he went off road? No, this is where his car is. This is where he walked off road. So it looks like he entered this person's property. Okay, I could see that, right? I might ask for help. Wouldn't you ask for help if I'm broken down? Yeah, I would. I mean, this looks like farm country, right? Doesn't it? I was just thinking, because if it's like in New York, maybe I might ask for, no, I probably wouldn't. But this is in Minnesota, right? In Minnesota, and it's like farm country. But then again, I mean, looks can be deceiving. I don't know. This could be meth country as well. I don't know. But it looks like I'm not saying that this person here has not allowed them to search his property. I'm not saying that at all. But I do know that he went off trail here, right? And we do know that his trail here, do you think maybe he was picked up by a vehicle here? Now, I just want to point out that when I explored that option, there have been several books written on this. I'll try to list them in my sources when that comes, but there are several books written on this that I've read. And the consensus seems to be, even though it looks like, oh, well, it ends at the street, so therefore someone clearly picked him up, right? Or he got into a vehicle or something like that and he drove away. But they believe it's like it's more of an issue of scent time, right? Too much time. The scent only remains there for a certain amount of time for most dogs. And so they kind of lost the scent there, and it could have just been that there was too much time that's too much time has transpired, and the scent is gone. That's the prevailing kind of thought. Nobody seems to be really leaning towards they got into the car and went somewhere. It's possible, though. I can't help but notice that there's like this wildlife refuge area. I'm just trying to look. So like, what did he do? He walked in this guy's backyard here. Do you guys see this? Like, he walked into this guy's backyard. What did he do? He mentioned, by the way, a fence line. He said there was a fence line. He said he passed by a fence line. They have not been able to track where this fence line is. They don't know where. Maybe it's on that person's property that we don't know whose property that is, right? What is this? It looks like it's burnt. It looks like somebody burnt these, what did they set fire to these fields or something? It just looks really strange. Doesn't this look weird? Wow, look at this property right here, huh? This is kind of cool. Right in the center of a square. It's just weird. They look burnt. Now I see a lot of like room for somebody to fall somewhere and disappear. There's definitely places where it can happen. I don't know. What do we think? Do we think that guy, do we think he could have fallen in that spot? I'm still looking at it. They won't release, the person with good reason, right? I want to point out the books do actually go into this. I read a lot of the investigative books on this. They go into reasons. There are legitimate reasons you may not, as a farmer, want somebody to search your field. And that is that, in particular, at least the prevailing thought is that, presumably when you're searching, it's going to involve digging, it's going to involve walking through these fields, and inherently it destroys large portions of their field. And this is not an insignificant amount. It can affect the profitability that farmer is seeing at the end of the year. If he's forced to keep one of his fields here non-productive, or if it doesn't produce for some reason, well, then he's kind of up paddle without a creek. Although this looks weird. It looks like scorched earth. Chris, what is this? What's up with the fields here? It's just so strange looking. This is so strange. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I can't figure it out. He went offline. We know that he walked. It's easier actually to see it like this. See, because look. So if he crossed the river, I'm going to actually just share my screen again. So if he crossed the river, right? So he goes off trail here, and he crosses this river at some point, and then he ends up here. So he would have had to have crossed it and then crossed back again. He would have had to cross twice, but he didn't. They only found it once. So he crossed it either here, he probably crossed it here, and then walked up and followed it over to here, is what I'm thinking. He only crossed the river once. I'll point out, I'm compelled once again to point out that they've never found his cell phone. The cell phone didn't drop in the water or anything like that, because they noticed that it just died, like the battery just died. It died in that way. It didn't. So it was working, it was ringing for a long time until the battery just died. There are rumors online. Controlled burn, it could be. I don't know. I feel like somebody firebombed that area to destroy all evidence. I don't know. It's very strange. It's bothersome. I'd like to know what's going on with that. I mean, that's just really weird. Controlled burn. I'm just looking at that too. Yeah, I'm not allowing you to search my property. Oh, and by the way, I burn my land every year. There's no reason for it. It's not like I'm ensuring the evidence is not there or anything like that. There have been some rumors that they found the phone, the police, and that they were holding it. I've seen that. I've looked into it. I don't know that that's true. I've also seen that there were rumors that they found blood on the dogs themselves, that they tracked onto an abandoned farm. The one that I mentioned was an abandoned farm, and that does exist. And that there was blood on like some abandoned farm equipment there. I traced that to a Reddit post, and that's it. So there's no evidence of that. The investigators didn't, at least none that I can find or legitimize. It just seems to be a Reddit post. Now, I do like to take everything Reddit says as gospel, but unfortunately, in this case, I don't think that's the case. So that's Reddit for you. It just seemed to have originated there. To be fair, this map originated on Reddit too. So here I am knocking Reddit, and in fact, this map could be completely wrong. But it's not. It's not. I just know it's not because we looked at it. Now, I want to point out that for a very, very brief period of time, I think it was 6 minutes of searching. The mom and the dad were in the car, but the mom, she said, "Hey, I need you to take me back," because she was having an emotional freak out. It was too much for her. So she went back to the house, which at first I thought was a little suspicious. I didn't understand why. I don't know. I didn't understand why, but it turns out they investigated that. She wanted to start, and it's not unusual for people. If there's two people, two partners. Hey, listen, why don't you go look for our son? I'm going to stay home, and I'm going to start. For instance, I'll wait there in case he gets there. I also need to make phone calls and do stuff like that. So they split up, and there was a reason for that. So then this entire time, he's kind of on the phone with his son. He drops her off and immediately turns around and looks everywhere for him. They search. They can't find him anywhere. To me, it's bizarre. This happened at 3 a.m. She felt overwhelmed. It was 3 a.m. She felt overwhelmed. He drops her off. 20 minutes he spends at the house. He leaves at around 3:20. They don't return again, or I should say Brian Swanson, the dad, does not return home again until between 5 and 6 in the morning, empty-handed. Can't find his son anywhere. At that point, their law enforcement is contacted. Initially, officers, they believe that Brandon is simply out because he's 19, right? They would take the position, well, he's an adult. Doesn't matter if the circumstances are strange. He could just decide he wants to go off and be on his own, right? Which is a bizarre. That's not the case anymore, thanks to Brandon's law, which we'll get into later. But it's just really strange. This whole case is just so strange to me. Now, I've seen Reddit posts. Here I am. I've gone on Reddit, and I've noticed some people are like, oh, well, I live in the area, and I'm telling you there was a cover-up. Now, that's probably some rando, crazy person, but it begs the question nonetheless. I don't know. It seems that that's certainly a possibility, right? It's also a possibility that he could have fallen into a disused, abandoned, or unused well. Now, in fact, there are several wells. He had a right to be missing. Very good. Different time in 2007. You got that right. Oh, yeah. He had a right to be missing. No longer anymore. You don't have a right to be missing anymore. All right, Chris? I want to know where you are and what you're doing at all times. Actually, I think Amazon, I can't say it, Alexa, it is aware of what I'm doing. No, I actually unplugged it. Fool me once. The distance between the party and his house was roughly 25 miles. I need to just stress, this is not like this guy has never driven this before. It's not like he's never been there before. This is his hometown. Now, it's weird for me. Growing up in Queens, New York City, and on Long Island, it's weird for me to think of driving 30 miles to go to a party. For me, it would be a big thing to okay, we're going maybe, into, we're going 2 stops down on the subway, or like, but it's just very unusual, like for me. But 30 miles, for regular people, I guess does anybody think that that's far? I mean, in the rest of the country, maybe not. I mean, clearly there's nothing here for 30 miles, right? There's just pasture land. So I guess those people have to go somewhere to do something. They can go to this town of, is it Porter? Yeah, Porter. They can go to the town of Porter. They can go to Taunton. But he was in Canby, and he lives in, what did I say it was? Marshall. Marshall looks like a bigger town. He thought he was down here. How could he have thought that he was down here? Oh, you guys aren't looking at this map. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. My bad. How does he think that he's down here, right here, and he's actually over here? The only explanation that I have is one that I don't like to say, and that is, I mean, if I was inebriated, I mean, this is his town. This is his town. And what are you saying here, Tawny? I drive 100 miles to get groceries and 60 miles to get water. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Holy moly. 100 miles to get groceries and 60 miles to get water. Wait a second. I was about to say, can you get the groceries at the place you get your water? But not necessarily. See, that sounds like a dream to me. I know here I am sitting in my New York chair, thinking about how amazing that is. Meanwhile, in reality, I probably freak out if I can't get my groceries, in a minute, or so. But it's not as peachy keen as it sounds because, literally, I can't even. My cat's doctor is, I think it's 4 miles from my door, and it took me 45 minutes the other day to get there. 45 minutes to travel 4.5 miles. So it's not all as amazing as it sounds. Sometimes it sucks. But there's that. So I don't know. Like, a part of me thinks that he's also not the kind of guy that, they always say this in every case, not the kind of guy that goes out drinking. He wasn't known for that kind of stuff. I feel like this is something you hear a lot. There's also the possibility that it's conspiracy here. By conspiracy, I don't mean that somebody's conspiring in a sense. Maybe his friends just said he wasn't drunk. Maybe his parents said, oh, he wasn't drunk when I talked to them. I mean, someone's not going to turn their friend and their son over. But then again, maybe they were telling the truth. I'll give them the presumption of innocence, right? Life 360. I don't know. Oh, yes. You use 360 degree. Yeah. Are you off grid? That's my dream. I would love to be off grid. How hard would it be to be off grid in New York City? Well, I mean, you could live in a park, but I mean, like living in an apartment or a house, you certainly can't really do that. I don't think so. I'm sure I can think of a way. I don't know. His scent trail, that thing bothers me. Would you stumble around in the woods in the dark, 3 a.m? He could have gone south to Ivanhoe, then east back to Marshall. See, the thing is, it's just really strange to me. I have to point this out. Now, I don't even see anybody talking about this stuff. I'm an attorney, as everybody knows. Okay? And I don't understand something about this case. Maybe it's beyond my attorney intellect and my ability to understand this. Okay? It's crushing my ability to understand this. But the way we do it in New York and basic law school knowledge, you don't have to be a trial attorney to know this, is that there are exigent circumstances here. I get it. You don't want somebody searching your land. It's private property. I get that. But I also know that I don't need a warrant to search your land if I have reasonable belief that either there's criminal activity afoot or that somebody's life may be in danger. So in my mind, I see absolutely no legal way that a person can prevent the police from searching their property. Hi, John Genoa is missing. He was last seen near your property. No, you can't search my property. Oh, okay. I guess we can't then. I'm sorry, everybody. I guess we're just never going to find him. He could be on that property, but we don't know, right? We know he's nowhere else around that property. I mean, hello, it makes no sense. So that I have a problem with because I know the basic tenets of how law works. And I can tell you that it's probably the same in that state. Things are different state by state, but the basic principles are generally the same, which is they have reason to believe that a life is in danger. Okay, what they call exigent circumstances. Another reason might be if they believe that there might be a fugitive hiding. Hey, let me ask you something. What if somebody escaped from a sanitarium or I don't know, Charles Manson broke out and was hiding on this guy's property? Can he say, sorry, can't search my property? I know he was last seen on this road, but private property, baby. I don't want to see you on there. It doesn't work that way. That's not how it works in the real world. So that's why it leads me to go back to that random Redditor that I thought was, just another nut job that said, hey, listen, I'm from that area, and it was a cover-up. Well, it could be. Well, guess what? Around that time, I think I read, I think it was turkey hunting season. I think I read that. And there was one influential person. Couldn't they fly drones over the property? That's a very good point. Yes, they could, actually. However, someone might argue that the airspace is owned by the government, and let's assume that they're licensed properly. Yes, they could fly drones. I think that they did fly drones. I mean, I'm not talking about in 2007. I think they've flown drones recently. But the thing is, though, that like now, obviously, it's not going to really do much for them. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's why those fields are all burned. Maybe they've been burning the fields every single year, right? Yeah, it was 2007. So anyway, getting back to it, I think it just leads me to believe, okay, let's think of this circumstance. It's turkey hunting season. But this guy's hunting at 3 a.m. No, I don't think he got hunting. But maybe a landowner he sees somebody on his property, 2 a.m. We know he called his parents and said, I fell in a ditch at 2 a.m. At some point, he decides between 2 o'clock and 2:47, in that 47-minute time period, he decides to walk to where he believes is Lind. And then he goes off-road. So let's say you're the landowner. You're a farmer. You're in the middle of this area here. I don't know, because these are different people from us New Yorkers. Somebody's on your property, 19-year-old. Do you shoot and kill him? I don't know. I knew in New York you're not allowed to do that. I mean, as a person, I probably would not shoot and want to, just randomly shoot them. I probably, but who knows? Maybe the guy had 15 burglaries in a row over the last 15 months. Or I don't know, maybe and he was on edge. Or maybe he was, maybe somebody shot him accidentally and then disposed of the body in the woods nearby. Right? There's plenty of places to dispose of it. Once again, they haven't really shared the property owner. Man, can you imagine that property owner? He'd be blasted. I mean, maybe he should be blasted. This is years. This is years and years after this happened, and you're going to tell me you're still not allowing them to search your property? How is nobody looking into this? Seriously. There's no reason that police could not have searched that property. They could have turned it upside down. They could have ripped out his entire harvest. Yes, they could have. They could have turned over every single stone and plowed over his shed if they wanted to, all without a warrant. Without consent, without permission. They could have done all of it. But they did nothing like that. So it's a little strange to me. I don't understand. It smells like a rat. I've heard sometimes farmers burn fields. Yeah, I actually heard that too, by the way. When I was doing some work on that, I heard that too. They sometimes do that. You're absolutely correct. They sometimes burn fields. Actually, that makes me want to go back to that. Let's just go back to that again. I want to see that field. I'm going to look at the Google, the real version of it, the satellite version. Okay, just give me the option to do that now, or... And my ability to do that has gone away. Okay, no more doing that. I don't know why I can't do it. Drop. So we hear silence on the phone. He disappears. What could possibly have happened? Come on, people. What happened to him? Did he get shot out there? Nobody reported any gunshots, but it's 3 a.m. You're in the middle of nowhere. Who's there to report a gunshot? To be fair, I heard a couple of gunshots outside my window earlier today, and I heard gunshots yesterday. Oh, and by the way, a couple months ago, they found a dead body in the dumpster right next door. Also, I found a dead body once. I was on the news. A lot of dead bodies around here, so it can happen. I can see no reason why the police could not search the field, at least after the harvest season. You know what? And certainly before they were. And I'm going to tell you something right now. That was raised. What you just said right there. I hate when people put like all these 8s and stuff in their names because I have a hard time reading it. I'm going to call you Ken Woke 109, or just Ken. What you just said is very, very, very on point, and it makes absolute sense. There's this whole farmer analysis of this that I read. I didn't even mention it. I'm glad you brought it up because I wasn't going to bring it up. And that is that, yes, they're on a tight schedule. Yes, I've actually seen estimates of how much, even if they were to be late, because at the time they were late, they couldn't be delayed in planting their harvest. Okay, there was everything's about timing, and they did a calculation, said it would have been like they could lose between $25,000 and $75,000 if that certain portion of their field was delayed in planting. Oh yes, it says a week. Oh my God. I'm sorry, Ken. Please don't hate me. It's just the level of my being able to see on this computer, I swear it. But that was actually funny. Where was I going with that? Yeah, so this guy, you make a really good point. They absolutely, but they're saying, hey, I could lose $25,000 to $75,000. There is a period of time when that field is not being used. Now, I read in some of the books, okay, well, if they had said we're going to delay it, you can look in the winter. Well, that's not really going to do them that much help because it's all covered in snow, and it's not really conducive to looking around. A lot of people seem to think that he may have fell into the river. Now, that's possible. He could have fallen in the river and drowned, right? He falls in the river. Maybe he dropped the phone. He said, O-S-H-I-T. I said, shoot, so that I don't get slapped. Can you imagine that? That's the last thing he said to his parents. That was the last thing I said to my parents. I think they'd slap my face. It doesn't matter how old you are. You don't use profanities with your parents. Although I'm sure the other thing is, it wasn't like, oh, shoot, like he was scared out of his mind. It was more of like oh shoot, like just, oh shoot, like something like that. So is it, oh shoot, and then you fall into the river and drown? But they didn't hear any splashes. They didn't hear any struggling. So unless he just dropped into the river and sunk like a stone, it's bizarre. The only thing I could think of is something happened to him, something nefarious, and this was either a result of a poor investigation or a negligent investigation, or maybe there's criminality involved. Maybe somebody tried to cover it up. It just seems so strange to me that this can happen. This is like, it's 3 a.m. He's in farmland. I mean, it's not like he got eaten by a cow. I don't know. I don't understand. I'm hoping that somebody has some idea on this. I don't get it. The dogs lost their tracks. Okay. The dog lost the track on the road. If he made it to that road, where did he go? Actually, I need to bring that up. I want to pull on that thread for a second. If he went onto that road, if he goes onto this road, he gets to 160th Avenue. That's where this scent led off. If he goes to the right, he goes into this, looks like there's nothing over here. I think this is just what, forest land, or not forest land. This is all just farmland over here, not forest land, sorry. But if he goes this way and continues west, he goes into more trees and stuff like that. Why won't it let me go back to looking at this on, that's really annoying. Antler Wildlife Management Area. Let's look that up. You see how terrible. Antler Wildlife Management Area in Minnesota is a small 173-acre unit located near Porter. What do they call it? 173 unit. Recreation like hunting. There's broader deer permits. Okay. Whoa. We learned something about that. Did you see that? So apparently there's a lot of hunting in the area that he was last, his scent was tracked to. But 2 in the morning. Do people go hunting out at 2 in the morning? Maybe if you're drunk. Isn't that interesting? I don't know if it was a mountain lion. A mountain lion in the middle of the farmland? I don't know. Do you think they would be in the farmland? I'm going to tell you, I think it's pretty obvious what I think happened here. I mean, I don't know if I can say it anymore. I've implied it, certainly, right? I think what happened was that he probably wandered over to that wildlife management area. Some guys were out there getting drunk at night, and then somebody shot him. That's what I think happened. There's no evidence of that. Just to be clear, there's no evidence of that whatsoever. But I don't know. I don't think there's anything else. I mean, because if the scent is tracking him to that road, they've tracked it to the road. End of story. I mean, we know he went to that road. It's not like then he could have slipped into the river. Maybe he did fall in the river. But the point is, he made it out at some point. He made it to that road. Where he went after that road, he could have gotten picked up. Maybe he got picked up and what? Taken away? Could have been abducted? Somebody go around abducting a 19-year-old kid? No, I don't think that's likely. At 3 in the morning on a back road? Not really. It's not even like he was on the main highway and some predator drives by and picks him up. He's in his own hometown, well, in his own home area on the back roads in farmland at a time when nobody's even going to be awake or in that area. I guess the next question is, another question we need to examine is why did he take those roads in the first place? All right. I mean, that's the real question here. Why did he take those roads in the first place? Right? I'm going to bring this up one more time. That's what she said. No, that's what he said. It wouldn't make sense if it was what she said. Whatever, I don't care. Bit through my lip. This has not been a good couple months for me, like last 2 months. Bit through my lip now. I sliced off my finger. My cat's got kidney disease. There's been some bad luck. Jimmy called out this week for our live stream. Can we make it any worse? No, my point right here is, look, Porter to Marshall. This is not very difficult. This is one road, 68. The only reason that I would avoid that personally is if I was drinking or in some way I was impaired in some way and I didn't want the police. Now, this doesn't mean that I do this kind of stuff, but I'm just saying that's why it's the only reason that I could think of. The only other reason besides that is if I was being chased, I might. But we know that's not the case because when he broke down, when his car went into a ditch, he He was completely fine. He didn't say he was being chased or anything like that. So the question is, why did he go off road? Why did he take that circuitous route? There's something else I didn't mention, ladies and gentlemen. I know I should not tempt fate. The other thing I didn't mention is that when they found his car, all 4 of the doors were open. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. Does that mean anything? He said he didn't, well, we don't know what he said. He didn't say he was leaving the doors open. There would have been no reason for him to leave the doors open. Why would the doors be open on his car? Why would all of the doors, why would you leave your doors open? And why would you leave all 4 of your doors open? I don't know. Is that something they do in the Midwest? Do they do that there? I know maybe they're leaving their door to their houses open as well. You're talking to a guy who's been mugged 3 times in his life, once with a knife to my throat. So, I mean, we lock our doors around here. We certainly don't leave our car on the side of the road with 4 doors open and a gold Rolex on the dashboard. No, he didn't have that. Wouldn't that be? That would be interesting. Yes, you're right. And the key's missing. Yes, looks like a search. Somebody searched the car, but they found no footprints around the vehicle, which is interesting. So somebody searched the car. So it's almost as if something happened to him and then somebody doubled back to search the car. But if that's the case, they searched the car and what? The perfect crime. But we didn't realize we left all 4 doors open. You know, like that's the only thing like I have a problem with. Like this is such a, but you know, they don't, clearly there may have been problems. It's clearly not a perfectly executed case, this whatever happened, right? Because there are things that don't make sense. And there's also the fact that we know the police are not revealing everything, right? And nor should they, because then we're not going to be able to catch whoever did this, presuming that, you know, they're still looking for this. I don't know. I don't want to accuse the local municipality or the police investigating it of anything negative. For all we know that they're doing everything that's positive, but I just can say from what it looks like, it doesn't look too good. From my point of view as an attorney, it certainly doesn't look good because I don't understand. You could have gotten, forget about not needing a warrant. You could have gone and gotten a warrant. There's reason to search this person's property. You could have gotten a warrant in a second. We need to search this property. Someone's like, and at this point, now we need the warrant because frankly, it's the only area that hasn't been searched. And I think that brings us to a level of suspicion that we need to be able to search it to at least rule out criminal. But by this time, years has gone by. They may have taken the remains and dumped them elsewhere. They may have cremated them. Who knows? I don't know what they could have done. Do you think that he was buried? Do you think that he may have been buried in the area? Do you think he may have been dumped in the river? They dredged the river. I'm going to point that out. They dredged it. They didn't find anything clearly. I want to say that he didn't, we know he fell into the river, but we know he came out. Do we know that he came out? Or do we know that his scent continued along to the road? How do we know he didn't fall into the river and someone dragged him out? No, I'm not going to lie to you. How do we know? Yes, it could be. I do not discount the possibility of anything. Yeah, it could be aliens. I don't see any evidence of it, but the lack of evidence doesn't necessarily mean anything. I did look, by the way, because I am interested in that stuff. There were no sightings in the area at all recorded. So, once again, doesn't mean anything. He could have fallen in the river and then somebody could have dragged him out and then carried him to that road and then presumably put him in their vehicle and then transported him away. That's possible. The only thing with that is there was no evidence. There's literally no evidence, no footprints, no cell phone. I mean, the reason they were able to find out, by the way, that he went off road there, just in case you're wondering, is they pinged the cell phone tower and they saw that that's where it was. Now you might say, well, listen, if that's where his last cell phone is, right? Don't you think they might be able to find the cell phone, right? I mean, this is not very difficult. This doesn't even look that big. I mean, I could probably search that. Now, granted, there's a lot of ravines, and it's easy to say I could search it because I just said I could, right? Doesn't really mean I can. This is an area that's, it's a natural environment. It's easy to get lost. Nature will consume the evidence pretty quickly, sometimes within 2 days. But then again, I pointed out that well thing before, and I happened to look online. There are a lot of wells that were dug and abandoned, and they're supposed to go online and put in a database where all of the wells are and where all the abandoned wells are. And I did. I saw them. You can look, and there are many in that area. But I also, for my research, there are a lot of wells that are not always recorded that people make, farmers make, and then sometimes they'll just board them over. Sometimes they won't board them over at all. And now these wells are sometimes, they're literally just the size of a person. So if he was walking and just in the middle of the woods and then fell down a well, now this is something that can definitely happen, right? Maybe he staged his own disappearance. You know what? That's the thing though. Like, he was in college, right? And he never indicated that he's not the kind of person to do that. Everybody says that. Plus, I mean, who the hell's doing that? See, why are you staging your disappearance? What does that do for me? I don't know. Why would I stage my disappearance? If somebody was after me, I might do that. If I committed a crime, if I was committing insurance fraud, right? That would be a reason. But I don't think that applies to anything he was doing. Plausible, but why? Yeah, I agree. That's exactly what I'm saying. I don't know why he would stage his disappearance. I'm personally, as we're going along with this, I'm leaning towards somebody's criminality. Somebody shot him. But I do have to point out that the well thing is also very important. I've done so many videos on missing persons cases in Vermont, and this was on our last season, which I may do another video on it. I delisted it. It was an old one. There were several string of disappearances in Vermont. One of them was on the Long Trail. And the thing with like Vermont, and I'm just using this as an example, you've got 80% of the state is in forest, right? It's forested. Now, in those forests, sometimes there are abandoned, like, houses that have collapsed. It could be in the middle of the woods, and it may have been there from the 1700s. There's nothing left but cellar holes and maybe sometimes old abandoned wells. And you won't even know they're there. They could have been buried for a century. And you come walking along, the earth has shifted, and you fall into that well. You're never going to be seen from. You're never going to be heard. No one will ever know that you were there. Then again, I would think he would have left some form of evidence. So I don't know. Maybe he fell into a well. Maybe that well just happens to be located on that parcel that guy or whoever owns that property doesn't want the police to search. But that person has to have political connections, because we live in the real world. We know everything involves politics, even in the local municipal level, right? The big fish in a small town, maybe a big property owner. Maybe the guy owns a lot of land. Maybe he made a couple phone calls. Hey, let me call up my friend. He's the commissioner of this town. I don't know. I need to know more about the investigation. I understand why they're not releasing it, and I respect that, because it would be foolish to do it, especially if they had a potential lead. But at the same time, what we do know raises more questions than answers. I think everybody can agree with that. Personally, without knowing more, I don't think that I can come up with a solid explanation. But I'll tell you one thing. I don't think that, he got lost, fell into that river, and they just didn't find him. I don't think that. I don't know if anybody agrees with me. I have a problem with the scent trail, them traveling. If it wasn't for the fact that up here, that they found him going up to there, if it wasn't for that, then I would say he fell in the river. He fell in, something like he fell in a well. But he made it to the road. So take that for what you will. What do you think, everybody? What do we think? We've gone through this case. We've gone through the case here. We've talked about the theories, the hidden ditch, the well. Now, it could also be a well and somebody could be covering it up because they don't want the landowner, to get in trouble. Or the landowner he could have fallen in the guy's well and he just doesn't want to get in trouble. I don't know. The lights, he said he saw lights that he was convinced was that Lind, the city of Lind. What were the lights? Maybe somebody had an illegal grow, cannabis farm. That's possible. I would think that police would know that, considering a search ensued afterwards. So that's probably out. I don't think he tried to start a new life somewhere. He was 19 and he was actually, he was a good kid. He was doing well in school. What if somebody happened to be traveling that road and hit him? Yeah, but at 2 or 3 in the morning, and also there was no forensic evidence to suggest that he was hit, because you would see skid marks or you'd see some indication of a collision. Him being hit would cause damage to the vehicle, which in turn would leave evidence, whether it be chips of paint, blood, or something. Also, the scent would be stronger there. I don't know necessarily it was hit. He was either shot or fell in a well somewhere. But the thing is, though, fall in a well, I would think by now they would have found him. There are a lot of wells, abandoned wells. If you check out the website, a lot. I should probably try to find it. If I had, oh my gosh, if I had the ability, if I had staff, I would put it on there, because it's really fascinating. You can look at all the old wells, and you know that many of them have been formally abandoned and listed, but even some of the abandoned ones are not covered up. It could be a small cap that's been removed. That's why it's really dangerous to go off trail. You don't know what's out there. I don't know what would possess this guy to leave the road and try to make it to the city, right? Why would you leave the road? I mean, I would continue walking along the road. I mean, right? I mean, I don't understand what would possess you to do that. He thought that he had traveled 30 miles and was here, when in fact he only traveled here. That's weird to me. So in his mind, this was 30 miles. And that's because of the amount of time he was driving, because he was going in and, oh, you're not watching. I forgot, I don't have the map up, because he was presumably taking back roads and got lost in the back roads, which is weird to me, because looking at this map, it's literally a grid. They are squares, all little squares. It's not very difficult. You're going to pick some road going west, and you will hit 68. I don't get it. And I don't want to say he was drunk. Yeah, I know it's hard to find bodies, Helena. I know it's hard to find bodies. You're absolutely right. Although I did find a body on Gilgo Beach. Do you remember the Gilgo Beach murders, everybody? I found not one of the bodies that was part of the Gilgo Beach, but I found one of the earliest. It was the body before the Gilgo Beach even started. I found one of those bodies on Gilgo Beach, just washed up. I found a body there. So you can find bodies. That was a once in a weird thing for me. But it begs the question, Helena, like, why did he go off-road? Why did he travel off-road? Why would you leave the road? He says he thought he was in Lind, right? Why would you leave the road? And I mean, not just leave the road. Why would you leave the road and start walking into, like, by the river and stuff like that? Granted, it's pitch black. Maybe he doesn't know there's a river there, but you do know when you're entering into a forested area. Let's be real here. You do know that, right? So it's not difficult. You stay on a paved path, because the paved path will eventually lead to the highway. It'll lead to somewhere where you can get help. So I don't know. I used to be a newspaper reporter. I never found one. Wow. Too bad you weren't the newspaper reporter that interviewed me on that dead body. Well, it depends on where you're reporting. If you're living in New York City or in the middle of nowhere, You know, you may not see a lot of dead bodies, right? That's true. You think he was escaping from somebody? There's no evidence of that. He had a good home life. His friend said he had no enemies. I mean, if he wanted to, let me see. Again, if he wanted to avoid cops in several towns, Brandon could have taken 75 South. Yeah, he could have done that, actually. So then, Chris, it begs the question, why did he decide to, for the first time like ever, why did he take those weird back roads? And it's not even like it's a back road in the general vicinity of where he is. It's like a back road that's in a weird area. Like, it brings it back to it. Was he inebriated? Okay, was he drunk? Is that why he got, how did he get lost? Granted, I mean, I get lost. Even in a small area where I'm at, I can get lost. But not so lost that I can't find my way back and then I'm disappeared for all of eternity. His entire town would have to be conspiring to cover. I agree, it would have to be, but I've actually, maybe not the entire town, maybe just powerful landowners. I don't know who owns the land there. Maybe somebody owns the land and there's a lot of sway with the public. I don't know. So whoever it is clearly has a lot of power because they're able to prevent the police even to this day somehow from searching their land, which is bizarre. I don't know how that happens. Maybe they have more power than the Supreme Court of the United States. We're going to get rid of certiorari, take it up to the Supreme Court. They're going to say, search his land. And the local police are going to be like, sorry, nope. Owner said no. Oh, okay. Got it. Because the owner said no. I want to go onto that guy's property. I want to be that guy. Does he also not pay taxes? Well, listen, he said he didn't want to pay taxes. He didn't want to pay taxes. What are we supposed to do? He said he didn't want to pay taxes. This guy is like, he's the best. He must be the coolest guy in the world. He must have so much power. Power! Just enough people to cover it up. Yeah, I agree with that. Just enough people to cover it up. Yeah, it's easy to take the wrong road. You're right. Especially in those, they call them field roads, right? I'm sure you saw that, Chris. I'm sure it's easy to take the wrong road. But why would you take that road to begin with? What was this kid thinking? I don't know. It makes me question his state of mind. But his parents and his friends say that he was fine. I also know, as an investigator, that your parents and your friends are not really the best witnesses because we kind of expect them to say you're fine. I'm not going to say, yeah. When I last saw my friend, I was helping him get into his car. I had to help him because he was so drunk, he was tripping over himself. But we got him in the car. I even turned it on for him, and we got him going. Don't worry, he's fine. Like, no way. You're going to be like, yeah, he was fine. He had a couple drinks, but then there's the time. 3 hours go by. I doubt his friends would have let him go blind drunk. 3 hours later, he calls his parents. They say that he's fine. No indication of being intoxicated. They said he sounds a little frustrated. I don't know. Then the question is, what did he do for those 3 hours, right? 3 hours. What did he do for those 3 hours? Presumably, he said he was driving around. He took those back roads and he got lost, right? Maybe he didn't do that. Maybe he did something else in those 3 hours. What could he have done in those 3 hours? He could have pissed somebody off in those 3 hours. But he was on the phone with his parents for 47 minutes. And before that, he was unaccounted for 3 hours. Yeah, he could have pissed somebody off. I could piss somebody off. It takes me a lot less than 3 hours. I'm telling you that much. You live in a border. Yeah, tempers are volatile. Well, let me say, you wake me up at 2 or 3 in the morning, I'm going to be... You know what's weird, though? There was a fire alarm in my building apparently at like 2 in the morning. Apparently it went off for almost an hour. And me, who never sleeps, I never sleep, so I got these permanent huge circles. For some reason, I must have been asleep during that like hour and a half because I have no memory of it whatsoever. Either I was asleep or somebody drugged me. Because that's impossible. But apparently it was a fire alarm all last night. So the question is, though, would if this guy was, would somebody be awake? He said he saw lights and he was walking towards the lights. Maybe he was walking towards somebody's. somebody's barn or something, that they're doing drugs. I don't know. We're going to be ending this live stream now, so I don't know. I think we went over just about every theory. You guys know where I stand on this. It's either a well or he was abducted by somebody, whether it's a result of criminal, somebody accidentally shot him and then tried to dispose of the body. I'm leaning towards, I think, something foul play here. I think there's criminality involved. Personally, I believe there's criminality involved. Now, that criminality could be that somebody went over and actually went out to harm him, or it could be criminality in connection with he had an accident and then somebody got scared and maybe disposed of the body or did something that they shouldn't have. And now at this point, it is a crime, right? That's what I think happened. Yeah, I'm thinking a well too. I mean, I thought a well as well, but the only thing with the well is how did his scent then make it to the road? But just because the scent ended on the road doesn't mean he drove away, because they believe also the scent time had expired. So he may have crossed over the road. He may have continued walking. He may have walked into an area where he fell in a well. Yes, that's very possible. I agree with you. That is certainly possible. So it's, but it's either the well thing or this guy, this poor boy was abducted. I mean, there was an abandoned farm nearby. I just want to point out that I did read that it had been being used by some locals to do, some suggest the farm was being used by locals to do drugs in. That's what I had read. I haven't been able to substantiate that. I only found one source. If that's the case, he could have wandered onto that farm. Somebody was doing drugs. They didn't want anybody to know. They decided to take care of him. But then it involves, I think, as you pointed out, a lot of people would have to cover this up. You can't tell me that there's no evidence of this. There's always evidence. Lots of stories about people just disappearing like that in the groundswell. I agree. And listen, I explore every possibility, including the paranormal. And don't think I haven't thought about that. Any number of things could have happened. It seems strange. They heard breathing, a gasp for air for a second there, like a breathing, just a breath. That's it. They heard a breath after he said, "Oh shoot." There was a breath, and then that's gone, and then he's gone, just silent. That's what makes me think of the well thing, right? Because if you fell in a well, wouldn't you scream, "Ah!" As you're falling down? You would scream. You wouldn't just, "Whew." But maybe he fell down so fast and then boom, and he's dead before he could even scream. Did I say DEAD? Are they going to bleep me for that? No, we're so far in, they won't even listen to it at this point. I can say whatever I want now. YouTube won't listen to the end, but I won't. Yeah, you think just, yeah. It's possible. That's the likeliest case. I think it may have been a well, but I would assume by now they've searched, except for that guy's property. Listen, it all boils down to, there's a lot of questions here. How is this guy able to avoid having his property searched, even today, after all these podcasts discussing this, after all the police investigations? How is he still being able to resist, assuming he is, which my research indicates he or she, whoever owns this property, has still resisted searches? It doesn't matter. Even if they search this property now, they're not going to find anything. You know, it's been years. They're not going to find a thing. I don't know. By that, and he doesn't want to dump the property. If I were him, if I were the person that owned it and I did something bad, I probably would not want to dump the property, because then the new owner might consent to a search, or the new owner may just be looking on his property and find a bunch of bones on there, and then everyone's going to know who to turn to. I don't know. I hope we were able to add a little light onto this case, shed a little light. I know we didn't solve the case. I don't know that we can solve it. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, do you pronounce sauce? Yes, I do. Yes, sauce. Yep, it's sauce. That's how you say it. What's wrong with a little sauce? Hey, I'm walking here. Yeah, let me tell you something. I try to hold that back. I try to constrain the New York accent, because it's abrasive. I can't stand listening to the New York accent. But it's unfortunate that it exists. It really does. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today for Ash Live. Next week, we'll have police investigator Jimmy back, God willing. We'll try to say sauce correctly. You want to hear something funny? You hear me say the difference between porn and pawn. P-A-W-N and P-O-R-N. Porn and pawn. There's something to think about that, and we'll discuss that on next Sunday. Next Sunday. Thank you for joining me, everybody. I'll catch you next Sunday. We'll have an even we'll have a crazy case. It's not necessarily going to be a true crime case. Okay. Sometimes we do other stuff too. Okay. Remember we did the Patterson Gimlin film. Okay. But I digress. I'll see you next Sunday. Thank you, everybody. It was good seeing you, Chris, everybody, Helena, Tawny. You didn't watch My Cousin. Of course I watched My Cousin Vinny. I got to tell you something. As an attorney, every attorney says, if you want to know what it's like to be a trial attorney, you got to watch My Cousin Vinny, because it is true. It is very true. And by the way, Ute, that is exactly how you say it, Ute. Nobody says Ute at the end of it. These two Utes, the two Utes, right? Remember that? That was a great one. Yes, it was good seeing you again, everybody. Thank you for showing up. Really appreciate your support. God bless everybody.